The line between respect and prejudice can vanish in a single moment. Imagine walking into your own bank, an institution you've invested in, trusted, and even helped grow, only to be treated as if you don't belong. That's exactly what happened to one successful CEO who thought she was just running a simple errand. Instead, she walked straight into a humiliating and infuriating ordeal. What began as a quick withdrawal turned into a heated clash of power, prejudice, and dignity. And when the truth came out, the bank learned an unforgettable lesson in accountability and respect. The story begins on a bright weekday morning, when Erica Johnson, a highly accomplished businesswoman, arrived at her local branch of a major bank. She wasn't just any customer. Erica was the founder and CEO of a thriving consulting firm responsible for employing dozens of people and generating millions in revenue annually. The bank had profited from her company's accounts for years. On this day, she simply needed to withdraw a large sum of money for a business deal, requiring immediate cash. She walked in wearing her usual professional attire, a tailored suit, minimal jewelry, her posture calm and confident. But the moment she approached the counter, she sensed something different. The teller gave her a suspicious look, one that lingered a little too long, as if silently questioning whether Erica truly belonged in this setting. At first she brushed it off as nothing, but when the teller examined her withdrawal slip, his tone shifted. Instead of processing the request, he began to pepper her with unnecessary questions, asking for multiple forms of identification, quizzing her about her own accounts, and hinting that the transaction seemed unusual. Erica had been a loyal client for years, and this was not the first time she had made such a withdrawal. But the scrutiny was unusually sharp, the distrust palpable. As she glanced around, she noticed other customers moving through the line smoothly, unquestioned. They didn't look like her. They weren't black women in a position of authority. Something was wrong, and she knew it wasn't about the money. It was about her. The situation escalated when the teller called over a manager. Erica expected the matter to be resolved quickly, but instead, the manager's demeanor was even colder. He scrutinized her identification as though she were trying to steal from her own account. The questions intensified. Why did she need that much cash? Could she prove the funds weren't fraudulent? Did she have additional proof of ownership for the business account, despite her name being listed as the primary holder? Each word dripped with condescension. Erica tried to remain composed, but the humiliation of being doubted in front of other customers cut deep. She noticed the stares, some curious, some judgmental, watching as though she were a criminal under investigation. The manager then made an outrageous move. He stepped away to verify her identity further. 15 minutes turned into 30. Erica sat in the lobby, seething, while other customers came and went. When the manager finally returned, his explanation was astonishing. He claimed the withdrawal was flagged as suspicious, and that for her own protection, the bank could not release the funds without additional clearance. Erica's patience snapped. She reminded them of her long history with the bank, her sizable business accounts, and the fact that she had never once been subjected to this level of interrogation. Still, the manager dismissed her concerns, suggesting she wait for a corporate-level review, a process that could take days. The insult was unmistakable. Customers with lighter skin tones had breezed through withdrawals. Erica, a wealthy black CEO, was being treated like an imposter. She recognized the ugly pattern, racial profiling disguised as due diligence. Instead of raising her voice, Erica began taking notes. Names, times, details, she recorded everything. The employees thought they were intimidating her. In reality, she was preparing for something much bigger. What they didn't realize was that Erica's influence extended far beyond the walls of that branch. She wasn't just another customer. She had the power, the connections, and the determination to hold them accountable, and she intended to do exactly that. The following morning, Erica returned to the same branch, but this time she didn't come alone. At her side were 2 attorneys, her firm's CFO, and a journalist she knew from a business network. Word of her ordeal had already begun to spread, and she made sure the bank's regional leadership was present as well. She walked through the doors with the same confidence, but this time the atmosphere shifted immediately. The staff who had dismissed her the day before now looked visibly nervous. The manager who had stalled her stood frozen, his authority crumbling under the weight of the new audience. In front of everyone, Erica calmly laid out the facts. She explained how she was denied access to her own funds, humiliated publicly, and treated as though she were a criminal for no reason other than the color of her skin. She detailed the bank's double standard, pointing out how white customers had been served without hesitation. While she was stonewalled, her attorneys presented the documentation proving not only her identity but also the legal violations committed by the staff in their discriminatory treatment. The journalist quietly took notes, recording every statement. The regional director attempted damage control, apologizing profusely, but the damage had already been done. With cameras rolling and attorneys present, Erica finally delivered her demand: a public apology, immediate release of her funds, and a commitment to retrain the staff to prevent racial profiling. If the bank refused, she would take legal action and the story would go national. Cornered, the bank had no choice but to comply. The funds were released on the spot. The apology was issued, and for the first time since she entered that branch, Erica felt a flicker of justice. The story made headlines within days. News outlets picked it up, highlighting Erica's experience as yet another example of how systemic racism operates, even against those who have wealth, power, and influence. For every Erica who could fight back with resources and connections, countless others face similar discrimination in silence, with no platform to defend themselves. The bank scrambled to implement new training programs, but the damage to its reputation was done. Customers withdrew accounts in protest, shareholders demanded answers, and community leaders rallied behind Erica, praising her courage in standing up against injustice. For Erica, the experience was bittersweet. She had forced accountability, but the emotional wound remained. Being denied dignity in a space where she should have felt respected was a reminder that no amount of success shields black women from prejudice. Yet her response transformed humiliation into empowerment, not just for herself, but for countless others who saw their own struggles reflected in her story. As the dust settled, Erica reflected on what had happened. She hadn't just fought for her right to access her own money. She had challenged a system that thrives on making people like her feel powerless. By refusing to stay silent, she turned the tables, making the institution regret underestimating her. And so, the question remains: how many others have been silenced in similar moments of injustice? How many stories never make the news because the victims lacked the power to fight back? Every act of resistance matters. Every stand against racism chips away at its foundation. Erica's story is a reminder that silence protects the oppressor, but courage, even in the face of humiliation, forces change.